Hello and welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports, joined once again by Logan Glaser of RealTime Fantasy Sports. Logan, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Jeff. It's playoffs.
It's playoffs. It's week 15, so you're either in your playoffs or the last week of your regular season, depending on your format. Either way, we're in week 15 and it's crunch time. And it's time for the waiver wire video, Logan. So we're going to give you some options to consider adding. Unfortunately, this list is not great this week, in my opinion. Not a lot of great options. And once again, a lot of injuries last week. A lot of key players went down, unfortunately.
Yep, another star quarterback down. I think we're over 10 starting quarterbacks that have been injured so
Oh
far
my
this year.
gosh,
So,
it's ugly. And I
yeah,
have
it
to
is.
pick up someone in one of my big leagues I'm in because I have Justin Herbert, and I got some bad choices. It's
Yeah,
my
there's
backup.
not a there's not a great list of options to pick up. There's some surprising players that did perform pretty well for quarterback. I think you've got one of them that you'll
Yep.
mention.
That's true. My backup in this league with Herbert's Joshua Dobbs, who's probably going to get benched. So
Yeah,
that makes it even worse for me. So I'm really
what happened
struggling.
with him in that offense?
I
They
don't
looked
know.
great the first 2 weeks with him, and then it's just gone
He'd been
downhill.
playing so well, even before he got to the Vikings. I did not expect what's happened with him. He's just completely regressed for whatever reason.
I did not, and then put him into that offense that has been with weapons around him.
Yep, exactly. Not good. Not good.
Nope.
I expect Nick Mullins to start this week. They
Yeah,
haven't announced it yet, but I would be shocked if he doesn't. And he's a guy you can consider picking up. He didn't make either of our lists, but hey, if you have Herbert and you're like me, I'm actually putting in a claim for Mullins and the other guy I'm going to mention here in a bit, but I'll have to decide between those two. So kind of ugly, but like I said, Logan, let's get to it. We have three players we're going to tell you we like to add. We like to we're considering adding, and then a streaming defense as well. So Logan, I'll let you go first. Lead it off with your first waiver wire ad for this week.
yeah, he might be probably the most popular, and that's gonna be Ty Chandler. So Alexander Madison sprained his ankle in the middle of last week's game, and Ty Chandler took over. It looks like Madison might miss this week. So Ty Chandler is going to get tons of volume, and that's really what you're just counting on. The offense just looked terrible, as we mentioned, that Vikings last week, but they got a decent matchup against Cincinnati this week, who doesn't have the best defense in the world. Chandler had 12 rushes last week, 3 receptions. What I like about him is he also gets several receptions. He's had games with 4 receptions, 3 last week. So he does get a couple of PPR points from that as well. And you can count for him to have 12 or more rushes if Madison does miss this game, as he'll be the feature back.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chandler's the best pickup if he's available this week. I have a running back as well that tops my list here for this week on my ads, and that's Chase Brown with the Bengals. So they're giving him more and more chances. I think they just want to get him more work. He's just so explosive, makes big plays in the running game, passing game. He has 17 carries his last 2 games, caught a season high 3 passes last week, which really helps his floor. He has 166 total yards on just 20 touches of the last 2 games. So he's making big plays. Like I said, he's explosive. I think they want to get him involved. They're kind of running the ball more with Joe Burrow out, even though Browning's playing well. But I think Brown's going to be a factor, get maybe 8 to 10 touches per week going forward. I think he has some flex appeal in deeper formats, definitely. And he's available in nearly every league on our site. He's owned on just 13.1% of rosters. All right, Logan, who's your next pickup?
Yeah, my next one is Jerick McKinnon for the Chiefs. He is 60% owned, so he's a little bit more owned after that Pacheco news hit last week. A lot of people picked up McKinnon, and he played all right with that. He scored a touchdown. He had 4 rushes, 17 yards, 3 receptions, 18 yards. So that's helpful in PPR formats over 10 points. But the big question is how long is Pacheco going to be out? Apparently, he couldn't really even move his shoulder last week, so I'm guessing he's going to be missing this week at least. And they've got a very good schedule coming up for the Chiefs. So they got the Patriots this week, then they got the Raiders, and then Cincinnati. So I think that's going to be 3 pretty high scoring games against teams that don't have the best defenses. And Chiefs wide receivers have just been struggling as we saw that with Kadarius Toney and what's going to
Yeah,
come back as one of the most famous plays of all time being brought
unfor-
back. with
Yeah.
Kelsey. Uh,
Unfortunately for him, that was ugly for Tony. But you're right though. Jerick McKinnon last year, if you remember, he was a league winner. He had a monster finish to the season. I'm not sure he's going to do that, but he's capable for
yeah, I
sure.
mean, I think the last 3 weeks in the playoffs last week, he had over 20 fantasy points scored in each one of those games.
Yep.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he won almost. If you had him in your roster in your lineup, he was a league winner.
Yep, for sure. And I trust him more than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even though Helaire started last week. He didn't do much
Yeah.
as usual. All right, my next pickup is a QB that I was just talking about. I'm considering adding for my roster because of injuries, and that's Joe Flacco of the Browns. He was named the starter for the Browns rest of the season after his performance this past week. He has 5 touchdowns in 2 starts with the Browns, and he's made some big plays offensively. I think he's showing he still has a little something left in the tank. He's gelling well with David Njoku, Amari Cooper. His matchup this week's decent against the Bears as well, so I don't think he's a bad streaming play. I think he could get a couple scores again. I don't think his yardage totals will be huge, but overall, I think Flacco could be a decent add if you're looking for some quarterback help. Never thought I'd be saying that in week 15, but that's where we are. All right, Logan, who's your last ad for the week?
Yeah, last one he's only 12% owned, and that's Wan'Dale Robinson. And he was the bright spot last night in the Monday night game. He had 6 receptions, 79 yards. He also had 2 rushes for 36 yards, so they were getting him involved in multiple ways. But the Giants are only 1 game out of the playoffs, and they're going to make a push to kind of make the playoffs with that. They've got a decent schedule coming up in terms of points being scored against Saints, Eagles, and Rams. So those could be more of a high-scoring games with that. And Robinson is their number 1 wide receiver. He's shown flashes of brilliance and throughout the last couple of years, but he's really just been held back because of injuries. But it looked like he was fully healthy last night and ready to go.
Yeah, Tommy DeVito is actually playing some decent football, so
Yeah,
that helps as
he
well.
sure
He
is.
hasn't been as bad as I thought he would be after his start. He's settling in a little bit. It's kind of funny watching all those videos with his agent and family.
Oh yeah, you gotta
Oh,
love it.
yeah, good stuff. I'm sure they love him in New York. My last pickup is actually another New York guy, but it's with the Jets, and that's Tyler Conklin. He's 45.7% owned, so almost half leagues he's available. He's been really consistent for the Jets in their passing game, and they're better with Zach Wilson back there. Again, his numbers aren't off the charts, but his floor is really solid. He gets his weekly catches. He has at least 3 receptions, 3 straight games, and 5 of 6. So again, really consistent. If you need a tight end and you're looking for a good solid floor, I think Conklin's a good pickup. He's going to get his work, and he could actually exceed his numbers from the last few weeks as well, in my opinion. All right, Logan, let's talk about a streaming defense. So every team's playing now, no more buys. So lots of defenses available, and you can definitely look at matchups and go that way. So who do you like as a streamer for this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders defense this week. They're 11% owned, and they face the Chargers this week on Thursday Night Football with that. Last week, they're coming off a 3-0 loss. I think that's only happened one other time in the history of NFL with that low scoreline with that. They only allowed 231 yards against Minnesota, had 5 sacks, and Justin Herbert is out, and that offense is going to struggle to move the ball for the Chargers. They were kind of struggling with Herbert, and now you go from
They
Herbert
were.
to Stick. And that's just going to be a nightmare offense. So I'm going to go with the Raiders.
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. They're just 6.3% owned. They've scored at least 7 fantasy points 3 straight games. They're playing the Texans, who could be without C.J. Stroud because of a concussion. But even if Stroud plays, that offense has been struggling a little more lately, and they're all beat up at receiver. Their top 2 receivers could be out this week. Well, I know one of them's out, Dell, but Nico Collins could be out as well. They're really thin at receiver, so I think the Titans defense could be a good play this week. They've struggled at times this season, but they've been playing better lately. I think Mike Vrabel is one of the best coaches in football as well. He just keeps that team in games all the time, and just really impressed with the way that he gets
Yeah,
them to
heck of
play
a
every
win
week.
last night.
It was a tremendous game. And I forgot to mention this at the top, and I want to just make sure people are aware. So there's a Thursday night game, like you mentioned, Logan, but there are 3 Saturday games this week. Minnesota at Cincinnati, Pittsburgh at Indianapolis, Denver at Detroit. So make sure you have your lineup set with those players before the action kicks off on Saturday. Don't forget that we have Saturday games this week. All right, Logan, thanks as always for joining me on our waiver wire video. Really appreciate it. Good luck to you in all your games this week.
Thanks. Appreciate it. You as well.
Thank you, Logan, and thanks to everybody out there for watching. And as always, good luck navigating those waiver wires and have a great week 15. This has been Jeff Paur with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day.